Hello, class. My name is Anicia Flowers, and this week I will be presenting on Social Perceptions Mark II. And first, I would like to start off with my favorite Bible verse from Psalms 27:1. It reads, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" I typically read out of the King James Version. This week is a continuation of social perception. It is having a lot to do with where you fit in society or where does society place you to fit in. These puzzle pieces can be based off of negativity or a positive light. The way we all look and behave can put us in two separate categories in society. Social perception can also be based on how you perceive yourself. True self-identity can conflict with who everybody else want you to be. In today's times, a lot more perceptions are composed from how we look than what's on the inside. Racism, prejudice, and injustice is alive and well in the society we exist in. Studies have been conducted to prove the negatives of stereotypes and reduction of social evolution. In my opinion, society is definitely divided and change will come once we stop having artificial views on other people. My following 4 points will be social categories, stereotypes, culture, and male versus female. Social categorization is the classification of persons into groups on the basis of common attributes. The common phrase, birds of a feather flock together, can be used to demonstrate how people can be grouped based off of who they hang with. Typically, a group isn't as diverse because people are more comfortable hanging around persons of like physical features. Physical features are race, gender, age, etc. What category would you place yourself in, or what distinct characteristics is your in group made out of? Personal identity relates primarily to one's unique and personal sense of self as an individual with unique traits and characteristics, while social identity refers to one's sense of identity as a member of a collective group with common characteristics that are shared with other members of the group. Once a person has found their identity, then they will find a similar group to enhance their self esteem about who they are as a person. This is a process defined as social identity theory. Theories in social psychology says that self-categorization is activated psychologically, especially in situations of high accessibility. The way that society categorize and stereotype others can be approached by situated cognition. There are three principles to this theory. Categorization and stereotyping can be conceptualized as constructed online in specific contexts. Acknowledge that adaptive cognition utilizes perpetual motor loops that pass through the environment, and discussion of the socially shared nature of cognition. This approach was developed as a better way to understand why categorization and stereotyping vary across people. When you think of feminists, does your mind automatically think of extreme female empowerment by the means of completely degrading or demolishing the male races and females taking over the world? It may be extreme, but some people have certain perceptions on different activist groups who try to change the world by using beliefs/practices that others may not agree with or feel comfortable with. Researchers conducted an experiment all about negative stereotypes towards activists. Two activist groups were studied, feminists and environmentalists, by conducting pilots on identifying the current stereotypes that are associated with these activist groups. These researchers were very thorough with their findings because several studies were conducted for one main cause. Everyone wants change but doesn't make the changes to better the world. When it comes to activists, their negative stereotyping is to aggressively promote change with hostile militancy or eccentricity, as proven in studies 1 and 3 through 5. Studies 2 through 4 proved that these negatives can reduce motivation in the public to not follow the lead in change, thus concluding that stereotypes and personal perceptions can cloud the influence of activists in pro change. The effects of stereotypes on individuals' perceptions can cause others to make up in their mind information just to prove their speculations about someone to be correct, wrong or right, positive or negative. Culture has a wide range of negativity that play a part in demolishing equality. The text Social Psychology defined two theories that I believe to have a huge impact on cultural differences slash racism. The realistic conflict theory and in-group favoritism could go hand in hand because of the feeling of entitlement when it comes to your specific in-group. Outgroups are discriminated against when in competition over limited valuables, and I would even say people. Extremes can come in a certain group if a certain group builds hostile intentions toward another group based off of opposite differences. This can result in dehumanizing groups by making them more inferior to your in group. Historical examples of dehumanization are the Holocaust, slavery, modern day racism, and animal references towards certain individual categories. Last week's article reading introduced word of mouth communication that was a marketing concept between brands and consumers. Word of mouth can be negative or positive feedback, but it doesn't always have to deal with product. Rumors, lies, experiences can be spread through word of mouth. In connection to culture, just as the researchers were testing the attribution of negative word of mouth to consumers that can be related to in groups relaying negative word of mouth about out groups to their own group members, thus creating barriers and dehumanizing people of different internal and external characteristics. Girls and boys have gender stereotypes. Boys wear blue and girls wear pink. Boys are supposed to be into sports, tools, and pretend guns, while girls love dress up and dolls. Social norms are placed on everyone as soon as they are born. Boys do boy things and girls do girl things. These things can be defined by social role theory. Social role theory are gender differences that are magnified in perception by contrasting social roles occupied by men and women. You are reminded how much you may belong in a certain group when you are placed around unlike categories. For example, being the only female in a room full of males, the male individuals of this scenario will be considered the out group while she is already associated with her own in group. Out groups are a sense of not belonging, and in groups are the sense of belonging and being around people who are more like you. Same interests in a sense. Mass media can have an noticeable effect on how people view gender roles. Images, ads, and music posted daily on social media and TV can influence potential stereotypes and discrimination. In the past, women and women of color were portrayed as powerless in the media. It is concluded that this week has been reflecting on the negativity of social perception and its subdivisions. It's even proven that it's hard to do good in this world without being judged and accused of being something that you are not. If social perception was open enough to accept differences, then we wouldn't have racism, stereotyping, gender role biases, and other things. There are theories and studies that try to explain the reasoning of for categories and perception positive or negative. In my opinion, it all starts with the way you think and see and perceive yourself. All right, class, that concludes my presentation. Now it's time for my two questions. So, the first question is a biblical one. It comes from Ephesians 2:14 through 19 from the King James Version. In these scriptures, Jesus Christ was the peacemaker and leader who made it his mission to stop hostility/differences that had developed between all of God's children. In Genesis 1:27, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. My question is, name a male or female activist who you feel is doing the work of God and is trying to help better the world by demolishing inequality, racism, stereotypes, etc. Explain why you chose this person. Question 2. After watching my presentation, choose one topic from this week's material and discuss how it pertains to everyday life. Please define the topic clearly and provide a practical example.